Let's see if I can get this. See if I can get this set up without John's help. All right. I think I officially have this figured out. John is without us today, to anybody who's trickling in. So, bit of a bootleg setup for me today, but getting it figured out. Wanted to join whoever's able to join up for some pre-week 12 start sit. And we're hoping to have John back tomorrow. He's traveling for the holidays, so he gets a bit of a day off. Hopefully, we'll have him back for the Sunday stream. Might not start right at 10 a.m. Eastern, but we'll, of course, keep everybody in the loop as we find out his schedule. I think he's going to be flying probably early tomorrow morning. So pending any weather delays, which I think he's either in Buffalo or Milwaukee, one of those two. So obviously a couple of cold weather cities. So if the weather holds up and his flight as expected, we'll have him back. But welcome in everybody. A little pre-week 12 start sit help. So it's just me today. It's just Nick going solo. But happy to be here. Happy to help out with any potential start sit questions you may have. Maybe any other general questions you may have in general. Going into week 12. We're probably coming up on the trade deadline in a lot of leagues if the trade deadline hasn't passed already. So if you've got any trade questions that you're kind of sitting on or wondering what to do, we can take those as well. Obviously, the main focus, with what do we got, about 19 hours to kick off. So obviously the focus here is some start sit help, but I can take any other questions as well. The big news, I guess, from today, while we potentially let some questions trickle in, Titans wide receiver A.J. Brown is not just out for this week. He's on injured reserve as of today. So that means he's going to miss the next 3 games. This one really hurts because the Titans have a late bye week. Their bye week is week 13. So I believe he's going to have to miss this week, week 14, and week 15, which is the first week of the playoffs for most leagues. So that really hurts. I guess if you want to be cynical about it, we were probably expecting a down game from him tomorrow against the Patriots. So maybe not having to worry about that is, I guess, a little bit of a relief. But we're talking about a guy who has been a wide receiver 1 pretty much dating back to his rookie season. So A.J. Brown missing 3 games at this point, at this stretch of the season, really hurts. We're going to have to pivot to other options, and I don't think the other Titans wide receivers are good alternatives outside of, if you're in maybe a 14-person league, but, I'm talking like 16, 20-person league. That's the type of league you're talking about where maybe you start a Titans wide receiver, but otherwise we got to pivot to other options. Danny boy, what's going on? You played Tony Jones. I did not like Tony Jones Thursday night against the Bills. I expected a bounce back game from their defense. They got absolutely shellacked by Jonathan Taylor. So obviously they maybe looked a little vulnerable after that, but Taylor's probably the best running back in the game right now. I expected a bounce back from the Bills defense, and we got it. The Saints offense also right now is just, it's like pulling teeth a little bit. So just right now, and not just the Saints offense, there's something to potentially look to avoid, but just playing against the Bills defense, unless it's an absolute stud like a Jonathan Taylor, or earlier in the season, we saw Derrick Henry also gash the Bills. But we're talking about two of the elite running backs in the NFL. Anything outside of elite, and I'm worried about them going up against the Bills. The Tre'Davious White injury obviously changes that a little bit as far as the pass catchers, as far as opposing pass catchers for Buffalo. The Tre'Davious White injury is a huge loss for the Bills defense. If you have the Bills defense, they're probably still a hold, but I definitely don't feel as good about them now coming out of that game. You're talking about one of the elite cornerbacks in the NFL. But anyway, I got a couple of questions here. Yeah, Danny, I think I would do that. Lockett, Ayuk, and Mike Evans. Mike Evans practiced on Friday. Obviously, he was giving some people a little bit of a scare, missing back-to-back practices Wednesday and Thursday, but he got in some work on Friday. Once again, Antonio Brown is out, so Evans and Chris Godwin are gonna hog targets, or we would expect them to. Nothing scary about the matchup against the Colts secondary, so totally fine with Mike Evans. Lockett, that makes sense as well. Just the Washington secondary they've been giving up tons of points to opposing quarterbacks and wide receivers all year in fantasy. So Lockett makes sense. Lockett had a nice game last week. So we can kind of maybe expect that to continue. And then with Brandon Ayuk, I think he's come back to life a little bit here. Played well last week against Jacksonville. I don't think there's anything too scary about the matchup against the Vikings. They give up plenty of production to wide receivers. So I'm totally good with firing up Ayuk as well. Totally fine with leaving Odell Beckham to that same point, leaving him on the bench for one more week. Let's see how the Rams do coming out of their bye week. They got a tough matchup this week, just going into Green Bay. Going into Lambeau, you always just have to respect the Packers at home. They're a tough out at home. The Lambeau is a difficult place for a road team to play. More so than your average NFL stadium. So let's see how the Rams look coming out of their bye week before we fire anybody up outside of Cooper Kupp and probably Darrell Henderson. Want to see how the offense looks coming out of the bye week, because the Rams back-to-back weeks did not look good. So I'm fine with those options that you have, Danny Boy. I'm good with Odell staying on the bench. Chris, what's going on? Starting Ayuk over Elijah Moore. We're talking about two really strong options here. The thing with Elijah Moore, and who I love, and he's got a great matchup going up against Houston. I feel like it's fair to have a solid number of questions about how Zach Wilson is going to perform. Robert Saleh, the head coach, pretty much said it's not an injury issue at this point. It's a confidence issue. And Elijah Moore's production all came with Joe Flacco. Now, could you just say, well, if you can do it with Joe Flacco, you could do it with anybody, sure. But if a rookie is having confidence issues to the point where he's only playing as a last resort because the other two quarterbacks on the team have COVID, that's not a great endorsement. Elijah Moore by himself is phenomenal. But I don't mind the idea of starting Ayuk. Both of them are doing well right now. Maybe Ayuk is a little safer just because there's a little bit more stability at quarterback for San Francisco. And again, as good of a matchup as it is for Elijah Moore against Houston, there's nothing scary about the Vikings secondary this year. So that's a fine matchup for Brandon Ayuk. The game plan as far as the 49ers, their bread and butter, of course, is their run game, but Jimmy G's been slinging it a little bit recently, so I have no problem going to Ayuk. And they may not, depending on the health of Elijah Mitchell, they may not be able to run the ball as much as they want to. They have Jeff Wilson, I guess they have Trey Sermon for whatever that's worth, but they may have to throw the ball a little bit more than you may expect a 49ers game plan to entail if Elijah Mitchell's coming into this game banged up. So that would bode well for Ayuk. I think I'm fine with, to that point, I think I'm fine with him over Elijah Moore. It's close. It's definitely close. But I think Ayuk's maybe got a little bit more upside. They both have great matchups, but I would say Ayuk maybe has a little bit more upside. I'm not sure if Zach can step up. again, if we're talking about a confidence issue, what does that say? Even in a great matchup against Houston, although recently Houston's defense has been playing somewhat better. So I think I would lean Ayuk over Elijah Moore. As difficult as it is to sit Elijah Moore, I don't want to sit Elijah Moore, but there might be, I would say Ayuk is a slightly better option as far as upside goes. Anthony, what's going on? Devonta Smith or Mike Williams, half PPR. This is tough. I think I would slightly lean Devonta Smith. He's been. I mean, I just got to double check his numbers, but he's been pretty steady this year. The Eagles' offense is looking a lot better. Not that the Chargers' offense is any slouches in their own right, but I mean, Devonta Smith, last week against the Saints, 4 for 61, but before that, he had a 2-touchdown game and 110 plus yard receiving game and another score. So you're talking about in half PPR, he's 20 plus points 2 of the past 3 weeks. I think I would lean Devonta Smith I know Mike Williams came back to life last week. He had a long touchdown score, so that was nice to see. But Mike Williams feels like he's a little bit more boom bust right now. It feels like Devonta Smith might be a little more steady, a little bit more reliable. So Devonta Smith is the safe play. I would say if you need to swing for the fences, Anthony, if you're looking at your opponent and thinking, I need a moonshot here and there, maybe Mike Williams, but I think Devonta Smith is the safer play. I know it's a division game. Division games can be weird. Division games can definitely be weird. What are the Giants giving up to wide receivers? They're middle of the pack, maybe in the top half as far as more favorable of an opponent. So nothing scary about the matchup by the numbers. Obviously, the only thing you have to worry about here is does a division game get weird? Because that type of stuff happens. Division games get a little wonky, but Devonta Smith has been, relative to expectations, as rock solid as they come. I think that's who I would go with. Pukes, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Kareem Hunt, Ramondre Stevenson, Alex Collins, Donta Foreman, Jarvis Landry, MVS, PPR. Pick one running back and one flex. Kareem Hunt feels kind of dicey right now, but if he's healthy and not on the injury report anymore, I feel like I have to fire up Kareem Hunt. It's not a great matchup by the numbers, but Cleveland's offense runs through their running backs, and Kareem Hunt was playing awesome prior to the injury. He does it. All right. So he's got a questionable tag coming into the game, but he's been activated off IR. Are his touches scaled back a little bit in his first game action back in what's been 4, 5, 6 games at this point? Maybe a little concerning to that point, but Kareem Hunt is talented enough. That's a tier break between some of these other options. Kareem Hunt is a tier break between those other guys. So for me, I got to roll with him. As far as your other options, that's kind of tough. I don't think I want to play Donta Foreman this week. Maybe he gets more touches funneled his way. No AJ Brown, no Jeremy McNichols. The other Titans wide receivers are not necessarily the most reliable. So maybe Foreman gets some extra touches manufactured for him, but it's a Belichick defense who is strong once again against the run. I'm not exactly thrilled at the idea of having to play Donta Foreman in that situation. I think I would slightly lean Ramondre Stevenson as your flex. So maybe those first 2 names, Kareem Hunt and Ramondre Stevenson. Stevenson has flashed a little bit recently. Looks like he's getting more and more involved. And Damian Harris is questionable in his own right. I forget the specific injury that Harris is dealing with, but this, by the numbers, is not a great matchup. But Ramondre has been 10 carries, 20 carries was without Damian Harris, but still had 12 carries last week in Damian Harris's return, and 13 total touches in all told. Damian Harris is coming into this game with an injury designation, so I think I would slightly lean Ramondre. The Patriots are they got to be favored in this game against Tennessee. Tennessee's coming up pretty banged up. They're coming into this game pretty banged up. Their defense is playing a lot better. But on the road in Foxborough, the Patriots have some real momentum right now. I would think they get their running backs heavily involved in this game. I would expect them to be playing with a lead. And therefore, I think both, if Harris is able to, make it through the game, which is a question mark at this point, which is also, I think, a boost to Ramondre Stevenson. I think that bodes well for Stevenson. Stevenson's the healthy back coming into this game and is clearly a part of the Patriots' game plan now. So I'm thinking Hunt and Ramondre. Collins is enticing because, Rashad Penny can't stay healthy. There's nothing scary about the matchup against Washington. But I think Ramondre is a little bit more of a hot hand at this point. I don't trust Landry. Valdez-Scantling is interesting. Obviously, he's not going to see Jalen Ramsey. That's going to be that's Devonta Adams' problem tomorrow. But, I mean, he's streaky, right? Marquez Valdez-Scantling is streaky. I think I would go with Ramondre. I would go Kareem Hunt because there's a tier break here. Despite the missed time with Kareem Hunt, there's a tier break. With some of these other options enough to the point where I'd rather play Hunt. And I'll ride the hot hand with Ramondre, especially with Damian Harris banged up. Jesse, what's going on? Patterson or Saquon? Yeah, this is tough because, at least Saquon returned. He's got a bit of a history against the Eagles, so I think I would lean Saquon. At least it's his first game back from the injury. If the Giants can take anything from their game last week, it's that Saquon got out of the game unscathed. It's got to be a positive thing, right? That's got to be something that, okay, this is something that we can look forward to as something good coming out of that game if you're the Giants. The Eagles are not the matchup on paper that Tampa Bay is as far as being able to stop the run. And again, Saquon has performed well against the Eagles in the past. I think I would go with the guy who you drafted to be an RB1 coming into the season. Patterson's got a beautiful matchup and has been nothing short of stellar this year. But I got to give Saquon one more week. 1 week removed, first game back, removed from the injury, got out of it unscathed. You got to think this is, he's got his feet wet a bit and under him a little bit more. I think I would lean Saquon ever so slightly. It's tough. It's really close. I hate that I have to bench one of these two guys, but I'm going to give the slight edge to Saquon here again. And I said earlier, division games get weird, but Saquon has a bit of a history performing against the Eagles. He's ripped off big plays after them against them in the past. So let's give one more game to Saquon before I pivot off him and bench him when he's healthy. Right now, I don't think I can do that. Eduardo, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Flex PPR, Bateman, Van Jefferson, or Damian Harris? Bateman with Lamar back. All right, Lamar is back. Lamar is healthy, so give me Bateman. It was ugly last week, but it was ugly because Lamar had to miss. So obviously Bateman was a bit of a fade last week. I think we go back to the well this week with a healthy Lamar Jackson. And it's a huge game. This is a big game against Cleveland. I think Cleveland is one of the defenses that is most susceptible to big plays, which would be a lot. That's a vote of confidence for Hollywood. But Hollywood's coming into this game with an injury designation. And as awesome as he's been, Hollywood's been a wide receiver 1 this year on the season. He's, I don't want to say fragile because I've been a Hollywood supporter. I love Hollywood Brown. We can never project or predict injuries, and I hope it doesn't happen. But when a guy like him comes into a game with an injury designation, it gives you a little extra pause. Cleveland's a little susceptible on the back end to big plays, so I would go Bateman there. And then between Harris and Van Jefferson, I probably slightly lean Harris. That's enough of a tier break for me, despite the injury designation. Van Jefferson's got a tough game going into Lambeau, playing the Packers. I know the Rams are coming off of their bye week. So, a little bit of rest, a little bit of extra preparation is in the Rams' favor, but they still got to go on the road. Not sure what the weather is in Green Bay tomorrow, but we're talking about the end of November in Lambeau Field. It's probably going to be cold tomorrow. To that point, now I'm kind of curious. Yeah, okay. So it's gonna be like 36 degrees tomorrow, but they play a later game. They start at 1:20 or 4:25. So that game's gonna dip into probably the high 20s. It's gonna be cold. I don't know. Let's see how Van Jefferson does in those elements. I'll give Damian Harris the slight edge there. Eduardo. I'll give Damian Harris the slight edge. Keep an eye on the injury designation. In fact, let me just definitively know what it is that we're working with here. I know he's questionable coming into the game, and it's not a great matchup by the numbers. That's right. I forgot about that. It's a neck injury for Damian Harris. That gives me a little extra pause, right? The a rib injury, a finger injury, like that's one thing. A foot injury, if you had to tier injuries, a neck, that's one you really don't want to hear about. So that's a little concerning. But if he's going to be active, I think I need to fire him up over a guy like Van Jefferson. He's still the Patriots starter. And again, I expect the Patriots to be winning this game tomorrow. The Titans are without A.J. Brown. Obviously, they're down to Donta Foreman and Dontrell Hilliard in the backfield. I'm just not sure they have the firepower on offense. Not that the Patriots are necessarily, they don't exactly light the scoreboard up every single week, but Mac Jones is playing really well right now. The Patriots are rolling. So I'll give a slight edge to Harris there. I'll say Bateman and Harris, Eduardo. Van Jefferson's that's a little slight tier break for me between Harris and Van Jefferson. So Bateman and Harris. And Pukes. Okay. Landry, MVS, Ayuk, Mike Williams, 2 wide receivers, PPR. The last 2, Ayuk and Mike Williams. Ayuk has come on recently in the past couple of weeks. Looks good. Scored again last week. Nothing scary about the matchup against the Vikings. And Mike Williams came to life again last week. I know he's a little bit, he's a little streaky. That's what Mike Williams is. He's a little boom bust. But give me the guy who is he's a bona fide starter. He's a bona fide big play waiting to happen. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is too, but, he's even streakier than Mike Williams. I'll give the edge to Williams. They're playing Denver. Division games can get weird, but I believe Denver. No, I'm sorry. It's the Chargers that are down one of their starting cornerbacks. Denver gets Bradley Chubb back on defense, so that certainly helps their defense. But I mean, I'll go with the guy who has been a little bit more of a consistent performer this year in Mike Williams over MVS. I'll go Ayuk and Mike Williams between those 4 options. All right, let's keep it moving. I'm doing this by myself, guys. So yeah, I'm gonna try to keep this rolling as much as I possibly can. We'll have John back tomorrow at some point. We may not kick off right at 10 a.m. Eastern, but we intend to bring you guys a one more start sit before week 12. Tony, what's going on? Dropped Gallup for Ayuk. Ooh, okay. Used a waiver on Ayuk. Well, Gallup popped this past Thursday, although he was relatively quiet through that game. It wasn't until the end where he started to really come on strong. Obviously, production is production, and the results speak for itself. He had over 100 yards receiving. So, but I like Ayuk. He's kind of come back to life these past couple of weeks. Again, he had a strong game last week. I was worried about San Francisco last week, going after beating the Rams in prime time on Monday night, then traveling cross country on a short week to Jacksonville. San Francisco showed me something a little bit. Doesn't matter, what you think of Jacksonville as far as an opponent. That's a difficult situation. That's a difficult assignment for San Francisco. Emotional divisional win on a short week and then traveling cross country for an early game against a bad team that's out of conference. That has trap written all over for it 10 times out of 10. And they prevailed. And Ayuk was a part of that. He scored in the game. Again, there's nothing scary about the matchup this week. So because you dropped Ayuk, Tony, I assume you're firing him up this week, and I think you're fine to fire him up. The Cowboys, as far as Gallup looks like a strong wide receiver 3 play rest of season, but they will be getting Amari Cooper back at some point, assuming that he's, if he's asymptomatic from COVID. And I haven't heard anything that Amari Cooper is, had a pretty difficult bout with COVID. I haven't heard that. All I know is that he's unvaccinated, so that's why he had to miss 2 games. Presumably they get him back. CeeDee Lamb will return from a concussion. Obviously concussions are they vary from player to player. It sounded like he was close to playing on Thanksgiving, but he just quite couldn't clear protocols. So expect CeeDee Lamb back. Expect Amari Cooper back both as soon as week 13. So Gallup will go back to being kind of like a 1C option for them, whereas Ayuk is a much clearer starting wide receiver for San Francisco. So I don't hate the move. I like Gallup a lot moving forward, but again, after the pretty bad start that Ayuk had to the start of the season, he's come on of late. So you're firing him up, you're playing him this week, and you're feeling good about it. Let's see. Richie, what's going on? Gesicki or Goddard? That is close. That is really close. To my knowledge, Devonta Parker isn't back. Will Fuller is, may not play the rest of the season. That's what it looks like at this point. Is he still on IR? Are they both still on IR? I feel like they're both still on IR. Just bear with me for 1 second. I remember opening the week, Devonta Parker wasn't practicing. Yeah, so he doesn't look like he's going to be activated. The only reason, Fuller's still on IR as well. So obviously the target share is a little bit more consolidated for Gesicki. The thing I would say might be a bit of a tear break is the matchup. Carolina's been a pretty strong overall unit this year on defense. And I think the Giants are giving up some. I thought they were giving up decent production to the tight end. They're a little bit more middle of the pack. It's a slightly better matchup for Goddard by the numbers. Gesicki has been kind of a target hog this year. I feel like I have a slight edge to Gesicki. The matchups are close enough where I'll give a slight edge to Gesicki, but that's really close. Goddard should be just fine tomorrow. He's essentially the number 2 option in the passing game, but also so is Gesicki. I guess it's just a matter of comes down to like Tua has hyper targeted Gesicki a little bit, maybe more so than Hurts has targeted Goddard. They're both capable of big plays. They're obviously both big time red zone threats. I think Gesicki runs more wide receiver routes than Goddard does. So I'll give the slight edge to Gesicki there, especially in full PPR with a consolidated target share. Chauncey, what's going on? Defense this weekend. Cleveland, I don't love that, even though they're at home. They're at home, correct? Or are they at home? All I know is they're playing Baltimore, so I don't love Cleveland this week. Yeah, they're on the road in Baltimore. I don't love that. That's right. Thank you for that's Asante Samuel is the cornerback I was thinking of earlier as far as who's missing this game. So the Chargers are playing the Broncos. I don't hate that. The Giants are playing the Eagles. I would not do that. The Eagles have figured themselves out on offense a little bit recently. They're running the ball incredibly well. They're down Jordan Howard, so that's a bit of that hurts for them a little bit. But you have to think this is fine. This has got to be the week Miles Sanders finally does something. Like this has got to be it. This is if Miles Sanders doesn't the Eagles have found their identity on offense, and they've done it without Miles Sanders in the fold the past 3-4 weeks. He came back for the first time last week. Got a decent share of touches. Should get some more without Jordan Howard. But if this has got to be the game for Miles Sanders, or it's not happening this year. So to that point, I'll give a slight edge to the Chargers. The Broncos, there's not that much scary about them on offense. The run game is great. Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams have been a stellar tag team this year. But I don't like the Browns going on the road to Baltimore with a healthy Lamar. If Lamar wasn't playing, then Cleveland, but Lamar is back in. He's back in the lineup. So I'll give a slight edge to the Chargers among these 3 options, just because I think the other 2 I think the Giants have a brutal matchup against the Eagles, who have kind of found themselves on offense a little bit as far as their identity. And, I don't want to play I don't want to play the Browns. I don't want to play the Browns in Baltimore. Not that the Chargers going on the road for a division opponent feels that much, that feels that much better, but I'd rather take my chances going against Teddy Bridgewater than Lamar Jackson. There you go. Casey Royals, what's going on? Saquon or Hollywood in the flex? Oof. Crap. I mean, Saquon, I know Hollywood Brown has been a wide receiver 1 this year. And Saquon's carrying an injury designation in this game as well. So according to the Yahoo update, Barkley played 62% of the snaps last week. You got to figure that's going to go up, right? I think I gotta go Saquon. I don't feel great about it because Hollywood, again, has been a wide receiver 1 in his own right this year, but we're talking about a guy who you drafted to be your RB1, or to be a RB1 in Saquon. And, just because you draft a guy with expectations going into this, going into the draft, obviously things changed. We've come a long way in the past 12 weeks. But a Saquon playing in the game, I can't sit him. I need one more week. I need 1 week fully removed from. Last week was his first game back after the injury. This is his, now he's a little bit further removed from it. I know he's coming into the game questionable. So is Hollywood. I think I gotta lean Saquon. Yeah, obviously, if he's I don't think he's going to be ruled out. Saquon himself said that the injury is something that he's just going to have to deal with for the rest of the season. So that doesn't sound like a player who's going to be ruled out. It sounds like a player who's just going to have to tough it out through a tough injury. But because Hollywood is also carrying an injury designation, it's a push kind of to that point. So I'll go Saquon. I'll lean Saquon. And between Minnesota and Baltimore, so Minnesota's going to be without Everson Griffin, not just this week, but potentially for the foreseeable future as he works through some mental health stuff, which hopefully he gets all the help that he needs. But that's a big loss for Minnesota. Baltimore's at home. I know it's a division game. I don't love the idea of having to pit a division a defense against a division opponent. But Minnesota's on the road. San Francisco's been playing a lot better on offense recently. And they're not good in the secondary anyway. And without Everson Griffin, I'll go Baltimore. I'll go the Ravens there. But between those two options, I'll say Baltimore. I think Minnesota's got just I think the odds are just, between those two options. I think the odds are a little more stacked against Minnesota. So give me the Ravens at home. Chosen Rose, what's going on? Do I trust Cordero Patterson at flex and Jerry Jeudy at wide receiver 2? I have MVS and Russell Gage. I mean, between those 4 options, yeah, I'm going Patterson. Who I believe he is carrying an injury designation coming into this game. He is, yep. But I mean, we're talking about Jacksonville. Look, they're playing better recently. They are. Jacksonville has been playing better of late. But Cordero Patterson has been a Swiss Army knife this year and a lethal one at that. He's like still an RB1 on the season by the numbers. So I can't sit Patterson for either of those other 2 options, especially Russell Gage. He's a follower, not a leader. He doesn't set the tone. If the Falcons offense is playing well, he might play well, but they won't be playing well because of Russell Gage. Sorry, Russell Gage. And yeah, I mean, with Jeudy, so it was just mentioned from Chauncey. That's right. Asante Samuel Jr. is out. So the Chargers are down a corner. That bodes much better for Jerry Jeudy. That's enough of a tier break for me where I'm playing those first 2 guys over MVS and Gage. I like Patterson to do just fine as long as he's able to as long as he's able to get through the injury. which the questionable designation, obviously keep an eye on. But if he's in, you're playing him. And same for Judy. The matchup is a little bit more favorable without Asante Samuel Jr. playing. And, give me the wide receiver who you probably drafted in the 5th or 6th round at home. MVS is just there's enough of a tier break there. There's a tier break between Judy and MVS. And I know MVS can go off for a big play any given week. Judy's just really good in his own right. Give me Judy. Joe Harris, what's going on? Joe Harris, the Nets basketball player. Do I start at flex? Options are Logan Thomas, Stevenson, or Van Jefferson. I would have to drop one of these guys for Jefferson if you say start him. So to that point, I'm going to say start Ramondre Stevenson because I don't want to drop Van Jefferson. If you're talking about you need to activate Logan Thomas, if that's the question here, I would say let's go with Ramondre Stevenson. Let's go with the running back who saw 20 touches without Damian Harris in the mix in week 10. And then last week, week 11, with Damian Harris returning, still got 13 overall touches and totaled over 70 yards of offense. Now Harris is coming into this game with a neck injury. Right? So let's play the running back who has clearly played his way into a role in the Patriots offense. So to that, I will say let's start. You'd have to start one of these, you would have to drop one of these guys if I say start Jefferson. Nah, so let's keep all three of those guys and just play Ramondre Stevenson, right? If you're between these like options like this, if you're between a few options like this, and to your point, you're saying I would have to drop one if I wanted to start one of them specifically, just start one of the other dudes. And Stevenson is Stevenson is my preferred option among these three guys anyway, because again, I think he's carved out a solid role in this offense. And I think he's got a greater than, a better than average or, week to week chance to spell Damian Harris more in this game because Damian Harris is coming into the game with an injury designation and a neck injury at that. That's always, I said a little bit earlier on the stream, if you had to like tier injuries, like neck injury, that's right up there with like a soft tissue injury or like a Jones fracture where it's like, this sounds like worst case scenario. I hope it's not. Harris is going to play, presumably. And I hope he's all right. But a neck injury, that's a little dicey. That's a little scary. I think that's to that point, though, from a glass half full perspective, I think that bodes well for Ramondre Stevenson. Logan Thomas, he's missed so much time. I'm never a proponent of playing a guy in his first game back. Let's see him first. Let's see him first before we put him back in the lineup. Tony, thank you, man. Appreciate the support there. Emmy, I hope I'm saying that right. Thanks for joining. Pick 2 wide receivers in a flex. Higgins, Ayuk, McLaurin, Bateman, Ty Johnson, Jeff Wilson. I'm going to say the first 3. Terry for sure. You have to play Terry McLaurin. And I think at this point, between those 3 or between all these options, you got to play Brandon Ayuk too. Pretty favorable matchup by the numbers. The Vikings are not scary, and Ayuk has come on strong the past couple of weeks. Again, he scored again last week in a game where I was expecting not that much from the 49ers given the circumstances. I thought it had a trap written all over it. I thought that game had trap written all over it. And the 49ers blew through that expectation. And Ayuk was a part of that. He scored. Back home, nothing scary about the Vikings as far as their secondary. So give me McLaurin, give me Ayuk. I'm a believer in T. Higgins. I know he had a bad game last week, but the Steelers, believe it or not, by the numbers, are not great against wide receivers. I think there's a solid opportunity for a bounce back game here for T. Higgins. It's tough between him and Bateman. I do like Bateman with Lamar coming back this week, but I think I got to go Higgins. I know Jamar Chase has taken over as the team's wide receiver 1, so you would be starting a wide receiver 2, but I think the same can be said for Bateman right now. Maybe Bateman becomes the Ravens wide receiver 1 next year, but right now it's Hollywood. As long as he comes into Hollywood going into the game active, I won't say healthy because he's not healthy, but going into the game active is the Ravens wide receiver 1. Jamar Chase going into the game is the Bengals wide receiver 1. Give me Higgins, the second-year player, over Bateman, the rookie. And again, it's a decent matchup by the numbers, believe it or not, going up against Pittsburgh. So give me T. Higgins in a bounce-back game. Terry, Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins. Terry being you can't take Terry out of your lineup. Just can't do it. Vinny Stacks, appreciate that, man. Thanks for the kind words. And yeah, whatever lineup questions you have, I see you throw them in there. So I will get to those. Shane, what's going on? Sit one between Claypool, OBJ, and Freiermuth. Not Freiermuth, because Eric Ebron went on IR. It's the Freiermuth show. Odell. I like Claypool had a nice game last week. There's been some concerns about Claypool as far as his consistency this year. The big plays haven't necessarily been there, but he should have scored last week, and that was on Ben. That throw, the early throw where he caught was like a 40-yard. It was right. He was, 5-7 yards short of the end zone. If Ben gets that where it needs to be, Claypool scores. Claypool had to slow down for that catch. Claypool came to life a little bit last week. He had over 90 yards receiving. I know the matchup's not great by the numbers for him, but we're talking about between Claypool and Odell, we're talking about some somewhat inconsistent options recently, but Claypool has been a little bit more between two inconsistents. Claypool has been the more consistent one. Right. So give me Claypool and give me Freiermuth. Give me those between those three. Give me the two Steelers. Freiermuth's arrow is going way up through the roof right now, especially no Eric Ebron. He wasn't that much of a threat to vulture work anyway, but he's definitely not now. And he's been heavily involved recently. Another touchdown scored last week. It took until close to the end of the game, so it was like pulling teeth a little bit, but he delivered. So give me the Steelers between those three options. I want to see Odell. Let's see how the Rams incorporate him coming out of the bye week. And again, I'm a little outside of, you're probably starting, in most scenarios, you're probably starting Matthew Stafford, especially obviously in Superflex leagues. If you have Stafford, I can't imagine you have two quarterbacks better than him. You're playing Cooper Kupp, and you're probably playing Darrell Henderson. Outside of that, let's see how the Rams do coming out of their bye week, because they did not look good the past 2 weeks, weeks 10 and 9, prior to the bye week. So let's see if they were able to right the ship a little bit before we throw Odell into the mix. And Chauncey, yeah, you're welcome. Any thoughts on Galladay? Julio with AJ Brown on IR for 3 games, and thoughts on Golden Tate signing with the Titans? Yeah, I mentioned that earlier in the week to John. I think he was trying not to believe me. The Golden Tate signing spelled bad news to me for AJ Brown. I was not expecting a trip to IR, but I was a little worried about his availability for this game. As it turns out, he's ruled out, and it's a worst case scenario because he's on injured reserve. Golden Tate is extreme depth at this point. I'm not sure that he's a better option than Nick Westbrook or Chester Rogers or Dez Fitzpatrick, or even a guy like Dontrell Hilliard, who I think is going to get a lot of work tomorrow out of the backfield. If you're looking for a desperation play at running back, like emphasis on desperation. If you're looking for a desperation running back play, I think Dontrell Hilliard, you could do worse. I think he's going to catch a lot of passes tomorrow, a lot of dump offs. So Golden Tate is a 33, 34-year-old slot receiver at this point who looked done with the Giants last year in the limited opportunities that he got. So not putting too much stock into the Golden Tate signing. Could he do a little something? Yeah, maybe, but I'm not banking on it. And tomorrow against the Patriots, I don't feel good about this Titans offense at all. As far as Galladay, tomorrow I don't want to play him. He's going to see Darius Slay. Darius Slay is having an all-pro season. Not Pro Bowl, all-pro. And there is a difference. Darius Slay has been phenomenal this year. He's been shutting down opposing wide receiver ones. There's no Sterling Shepard for the Giants. Kadarius Toney is doubtful, so he's probably not going to play. So Darius Slay might shadow Kenny Galladay tomorrow. I don't want any parts of that. I think Evan Ingram is a sneaky play. if we're just talking about the Giants offense. The Eagles, for as great as Darius Slay has been, the Eagles are giving up the most points to opposing tight ends. So this could be the one game a year where Evan Ingram shows up. Just throwing that out there. So, all right, Vinny. Jackson or Hurts? Damn. So you're okay. So the PPR scoring doesn't affect the quarterbacks, right? Oh man. So believe it or not, guys, and I'll toot my own horn a little bit here because if any of you caught my draft plan in the beginning of the season, I had Jalen Hurts as my dark horse as the quarterback to draft this year. He has the most QB1 performances this season. Now, Lamar missed last week, so maybe he would have had an extra QB1 performance if Lamar had played. But Jalen Hurts has the most QB1 performances of all quarterbacks this year. He has been nothing but rock solid. By the numbers, the Giants and the Browns are pretty much neck and neck as far as quarterback production given up. That's a true toss-up, Vinny. I have a really hard time sitting Lamar Jackson, but guess what? It's been Jalen Hurts who has given us the most QB1 performances of anybody else this year. That's a true toss-up. I feel like the consensus would be Lamar Jackson. But Jalen Hurts has been awesome. Jalen Hurts has been awesome this year. I think he's running more than Lamar is. I think Hurts is a bit more of an upside play, Vinny. I think Lamar is a perfectly safe floor play. I think Hurts has got a little bit more upside. But that's tough. We're splitting hairs here. You're talking about two top 3 options at the quarterback position. It sucks that you have to make that choice. Because I think they're both going to do well. Tony, as a Carter owner, do you drop Chuba or Booker for Ty Johnson? Carter is my RB4 behind Cook, J-Rob, and Gibson. Yeah, I mean, I think either one of those is fine as far as a drop, and especially, since you have Carter, Ty Johnson is probably a little bit more valuable to you just as a bit of a handcuff there. I'm not a believer in Tevin Coleman. I know it was Tevin Cole. I'll just say this about Ty Johnson, and I've liked Ty Johnson this year. I've been a proponent of him this year relative to his cost while going into the season anyway. Tevin Coleman was the one who spelled Michael Carter last week. It was not Ty Johnson. When Michael Carter left the game, Tevin Coleman was the one who got the most, quote unquote, most work. He got like 5 carries. Ty Johnson got 1. For whatever that's worth. If you don't have McCaffrey and you don't have Saquon, then either one of those guys are safe drops. Chuba and Devonta Booker are not really holds anymore. I would say maybe especially so Chuba, because Saquon is the one still carrying injury designations. So maybe Saquon's a little bit more of the bigger injury risk than McCaffrey. Although they've both missed a lot of time the past 2 years. So maybe Booker, slight edge to Booker as being the drop. But to that point, I also don't think Ty Johnson is like a super must own. Not with Mike White out of the equation. Ty Johnson's big performances came with Mike White in at quarterback. He only had one good game with Zach Wilson playing quarterback. I think that was like way back in week 3 or 4. He had a 10 point output in half PPR. But outside of that, it was pretty quiet from Ty Johnson. So I don't like Chuba or Booker, take your pick. But also Ty Johnson's not like a must grab. Maybe he's a little bit more valuable to you as the Carter owner, but I don't think he's necessarily like a must add. But okay, Vinny, defense between the Eagles and the Panthers. Without looking at it, probably the Panthers. They're playing the Dolphins. The Panthers have been just a better overall unit. The Panthers have been a strong unit for defense this year. I think I would go with the Panthers. Vinny. I think the Eagles have figured it out a little bit more on offense right now. You're playing the The Giants are the ones that are playing the Eagles. I got to imagine the Giants the Giants aren't that good, but I got to imagine they get up for this game a little bit. If you recall, last year, week 17, the Eagles had the opportunity to help the Giants get to the playoffs, and instead they tanked that last game, right? And the Giants were all complaining. Joe Judge was all, we'll never do anything like that as long as I'm the coach here. The Giants were not happy with the Eagles throwing that week 17 game. This is their Super Bowl, the Giants. So they're going to be up for this game. So to that point, I'll play the Panthers. Give me the Panthers. There's a little extra motivation for the Giants against the Eagles defense tomorrow. That same intangible does not apply for the Dolphins offense against the Panthers. And the Panthers have just been the better unit. Have just been the better defense. And Tony, you won't see a starting. Right. So to that point, you won't see your roster. To that point, he's not a must grab. But if you want to drop one of the two, I would probably slightly lean. I minced my words. Booker is maybe like the slighter better hold than Chuba, just because Saquon is the one still carrying injury designation. So if you want to drop Chuba to pick up Ty Johnson, that's fine. But it's like splitting hairs a little bit, I think. But if you want to get him, go get him. I would say Chuba is your drop. Maybe let's hold on to Booker until we see Saquon off the injury report on a consistent basis, which sounds like is not going to be the case. He himself admitted that this ankle injury is going to be something that he has to deal with all year. AB, what's going on? Bateman or Van Jefferson? I'm going Bateman. I like Van. I really do. I like his week-to-week upside, but Bateman's a little bit safer of a play. He gets Lamar back. As much as a fade Bateman was last week, I think he's a play this week. Just getting Lamar Jackson back. That's all it takes. I think Bateman's perfectly safe. Van might be a little bit more of like an upside play. But prior to last week, which we could totally throw out the window just because Lamar wasn't playing. Bateman's been rock solid, man. I'm going to go Bateman. Bateman over Van Jefferson. I think there's a slight tier break there in Bateman's favor. Van would be an ultra swing for the fences if you really need some upside. But I'll say Bateman. And then, all right, Vinny, let's see what we got. Need two of these five. Goddard, Waddle, Bateman, Harris, Darrell Henderson. Henderson, first of all, he's been getting RB1 work. So I'll say Henderson there. Some of these other guys, this is kind of tough. Damian Harris would normally be a guy I regularly suggest, but again, he's coming into this game with a neck injury. It's a little concerning. I'll say two of these five. I'll say Henderson and Bateman. I would normally say Waddle, but Waddle might see a little bit of some little Stephon Gilmore tomorrow. So he might be a little bit more limited. I mean, of course, Bateman could see Denzel Ward, but so might Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown might be the one to see Denzel Ward. Bateman might have some underneath work available to him a little bit more. So I'll give a slight edge to Bateman, Vinny, over Waddle. I love Waddle. I really do. Waddle's a playmaker, man. He's a playmaker. But he might see Gilmore tomorrow as the Dolphins wide receiver 1. And if Denzel Ward sees Hollywood, that's a boost for Bateman. The only reason I'm not playing Damian Harris, but among these options is the injury designation. So I'll say Henderson and Bateman, Vinny. Shaquille Edwards, what's going on? Just Marquise Brown ? I mean, if you want a little bit of if you want me to just talk about Hollywood a little bit. First of all, he's a top 10 wide receiver on the year, so that's great. The concern is obviously the injury designation. If he's active, you got to play him. Unless you got the Chiefs are on bye. I was going to say Tyreek Hill. Unless you've got Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams and I don't know, Mike Evans or, unless you got three studs, or Stephon Diggs already played, Keenan Allen. I'll say Keenan Allen. Unless you got Cooper Kupp, Devonta Adams, and Keenan Allen, you're playing Hollywood Brown. If he's active. The injury is a concern. Obviously, it was enough to hold him out last week, but he's supposed to play. So if he plays, he's got to be in your lineup. I just mentioned he might see some Denzel Ward. That's a little concerning. The glass half full is that the Cleveland Browns defense has been susceptible to some big plays. Marquise Brown is a big play waiting to happen. Any given play. Maybe a little extra downside this week, obviously, with the injury concern, but if Hollywood Brown is playing, he's in your lineup. Casey Royals, thoughts on DJ Moore and Matt Breida? Well, first of all, DJ Moore came back to life a little bit last week. He scored a touchdown. So Cam is, I think it's fair to say Cam is clearly of all of the potential available options between Sam Darnold, PJ Walker, Cam Newton, and any other available quarterback to the Panthers this year, outside of actually drafting somebody, Cam is clearly the best thing that DJ Moore could have hoped for. Right? So DJ Moore's stock is back up again. The Dolphins are not a scary matchup. They are not the threat on defense that they were last year. So DJ Moore's perfectly safe to remain in your starting lineup. As for Matt Breida, I did a video on him, a short video on him yesterday. It's on our channel if you care to check it out. But the short version is he looks like the Bills running back to own. He looks like the Bills running back to own. Zach Moss is back in the doghouse. It was easy to forget. I'm going to go on a quick Zach Moss tangent here. Zach Moss was a surprise healthy scratch week 1. Everybody freaked out, myself included. And then he went on a decent run, weeks 2 through 5. Let me see if I can remember the stats correctly. I'm pretty sure I'm saying this correctly from my video yesterday. Moss had either 90 plus yards from scrimmage or at least 1 touchdown in every game from weeks 2 to 5. Looked like he was back. Looked like that week 1 healthy scratch was not anything to be worried about anymore. Since then, it's been all downhill. And it culminated with rock bottom on Thanksgiving when he was once again a healthy scratch. It looks like Zach Moss is out of the equation for Buffalo. I think this is Devin Singletary and Matt Breida moving forward, with obviously Josh Allen continuing to be the quote-unquote Bills' best running back. Breida gives this offense some juice. He's got sub 4.4 40 speed. He can catch the ball a little bit. And the Bills have some rough sledding as far as run defenses they're about to see in the coming weeks. How do you counter a good run defense with a pass-catching running back? That's Breida. I think Breida's trending up. I think if he's not owned in your league, he's going to be one of the top waiver claims, if not the top waiver claim this week for week 13. And if you could use an RB3 or just a depth running back, Breida should be right at the top of your radar. I think the Bills need to seriously draft a running back. And they need to seriously improve their run blocking in general. The Bills are phenomenal at throwing the ball and pass blocking. They are terrible at run blocking. They seriously need to improve. They need to improve the run blocking, and then they just need a more complete running back. But that's next year's issue. That's the offseason's problem. For now, it's Singletary and Breida. And with the strain of opponents that they're getting, they get the Patriots twice. I think they get the Bucks, and they get somebody else who's really strong against the run as well in this weeks 13 to 16. I think Breida is the guy to own in this backfield. B3 Solo, what's going on? Bateman, Elijah Moore, Ayuk, OBJ, choose 2. Oh man, did I say Bateman over Elijah Moore earlier? No, I said Ayuk over Elijah Moore earlier. And you have Ayuk. I'll say Ayuk and Elijah Moore. B3 Solo. Elijah Moore's on fire. I'm a little worried about Elijah Moore. Just let's see how he does with Zach Wilson. And that's not Elijah Moore that I'm concerned about. It's Zach Wilson that I'm concerned about, because again, I can only go off of what the coach tells us or whatever we get from as far as the media. It's a confidence concern with Zach Wilson. So is he out there seeing ghosts or whatever, so to speak? Is he going to struggle tomorrow? Houston's been playing a little bit better. Houston's still a strong matchup by the numbers, but they've been playing better on defense recently. Like two things can be true at the same time. To that point, Elijah Moore, between him and Bateman, I'm going to play Elijah Moore just because he is absolutely on fire right now. And I'm going to go Ayuk as well. Ayuk has come back to life for the past couple of weeks. Nothing scary about the matchup against the Vikings. Their secondary is not anything to be worried about. And the 49ers have been doing a little something on offense recently. It looks like they've kind of figured a couple of things out. Jimmy G's been slinging it a little bit over the past couple of weeks. So give me Ayuk, give me Elijah Moore. The story on Odell Beckham remains the same. Let's see how the Rams do coming out of the bye week, because the 2 weeks prior to the bye week, they were bad. And outside of Cooper Kupp, Darrell Henderson, and probably Matthew Stafford, I'm not crazy about starting a Ram. Let's see how they do. And this is a tough matchup going into Lambeau tomorrow. So we'll see. Love Bateman. Big fan of Bateman. I think he's a rock solid floor play tomorrow. I think he's a rock solid floor play because I think Hollywood Brown is going to be the one who sees Denzel Ward. But Ayuk and Elijah Moore are the guys that I want to play of those options. All right. Let's keep moving here. Durko, what's going on? Half PPR start 2. Ayuk, Mike Williams, Pittman, Higgins. 5 points. That's a big bonus for plays over 40 yards. That makes Mike Williams super enticing. I think you got to play Pittman. I think you got to play Pittman. I know Wentz had 100 yards last week, but that's because Jonathan Taylor went complete, Superman against the Bills. And he's matchup proof at this point. So yes, the Bucs are very strong against the run, but at this point, who cares when it comes to Jonathan Taylor? But I think that helps things with Pittman. Nothing scary about the Bucs secondary, and Pittman's been a wide receiver 1 this year. Pittman has really come into his own. So I'm going to play Pittman. Think of those options, especially with that big play bonus that you have. I'm going to say Mike Williams. Because all it takes, if he catches a 40-yard, half PPR, a 40-yard catch is 11.5 points. Or did I do the math correctly? 4.5, no, 10.5, 9.5 points. This is why I'm not a math teacher. That's huge. All it takes is one play for him to almost hit 10 points. Mike Williams. I like Ayuk tomorrow. I like Higgins tomorrow. I like all 4 of those guys. We need to add a flex spot to your starting lineup in your league, Durko, because those are some really strong wide receiver options. But I'll say Pittman and Mike Williams because of that huge bonus that you get. Lucius Varanus, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Worried Elijah Mitchell won't play. Yeah, there's just a little concern there. Only players to have him sub in would be Nick Westbrook or David Johnson. Who would you go with? Well, I think both of those guys play in the early window, right? Elijah Mitchell plays in the later window. So my first question to your question, Lucius, is there somebody else? I don't want to play Nick Westbrook. I'm worried about the Titans tomorrow, just in general. The only guy who I might play as a desperation heave is Dontrell Hilliard. I think he gets some solid check down work out of the backfield tomorrow, a decent amount. My question to your question, Lucius, is if you're worried about Elijah Mitchell, is there somebody in the late window who you could swap in so that you could wait on Elijah Mitchell? If no, then I guess I would by default lean David Johnson just because the matchup is so phenomenal against the Jets. I don't love the idea of playing David Johnson, but and Rex Burkhead could just take all of his work. But Philip Lindsay's out of the picture, so a little bit more consolidated. Not that he was getting a ton of work anyway. The Philip Lindsay release does not make me feel that significantly better about David Johnson because Philip Lindsay only got 3 carries last week anyway. But when you're playing the Jets as a running back, there's quite literally not a better matchup. So David Johnson, I guess be the preference, Lucius, but is there anybody in the 4 o'clock window who is available who you could also pick up so you can wait on Elijah Mitchell? I know you said you may not have a ton of options, but let me know. Molly G, what's going on? Full PPR, 1 flex, 1 wide receiver, DK, Godwin, and Darrell Henderson. Oof. the wide receivers. I don't want to sit Darrell Henderson, but DK is getting like the Washington is giving up 1 million points to wide receivers. I think DK's in a bounce back spot. He had a bad game last week against Arizona. He always plays poorly against Arizona. Remember that, people. For whatever reason, DK Metcalf does not play well against the Arizona Cardinals throughout his entire career. He's got low totals in every game against Arizona. But to that point, I think he's got a decent opportunity for a bounce back game. So let's do DK Metcalf and let's do Godwin. Godwin especially so because Mike Evans only logged 1 practice this week. That's enough to feel fine firing Mike Evans up, but Chris Godwin might be the healthy one between these 2 wide receivers. And nothing scary about the matchup against the Indianapolis secondary. I don't like sitting Darrell Henderson, but between these 3 options and because it's full PPR, let's go with the wide receivers. Calum, what's going on? Go Jarvis Landry or Kendrick Bourne. Ooh, last flex spot this week in half PPR. I don't love either of those options. I feel like I'm inclined to say Bourne. Landry's just not giving us anything. Landry's giving us nothing. Bourne's a decent. Let's put it. I think both of their floors are incredibly low. Bourne's got a little bit more upside. I think Bourne's got a little bit more upside, and the Patriots are just playing better. Mac Jones is just playing better than Baker. Mac Jones is just playing better than Baker Mayfield. I think Kendrick Bourne is playing better than Jarvis Landry. I think the move here is Bourne. As rock solid as Jarvis Landry has been in his career, it has not been the case this year. Just hasn't been. And the Browns passing game is completely gross right now. The only guys in that offense I feel fine starting are Nick Chubb and now that he's back, Kareem Hunt. So let's go Bourne. Patriots are doing a little bit better on offense. Chauncey, appreciate that. Yeah, if anybody wants me to try to, I'll do my best to analyze whatever questions you may have. Sheed 1, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Need 1 running back and 1 flex, PPR. Nick Westbrook, Elijah Mitchell, Javonte. Sorry about the wide receivers you lost. Definitely Javonte. That's between these 3, that's an easy call. Definitely Javonte. Plug him in at the running back spot. And then between Westbrook and Mitchell, I'm worried about the Titans tomorrow. Like, could Westbrook make a play? Yeah, maybe, but the Titans passing attack just feels like something to avoid this week. I didn't like A.J. Brown this week before he was ruled out. Now he's not there. It's a Belichick-led defense. I'm worried about the Titans passing attack. Sheed, I'm going to say Mitchell, but maybe have a guy in the late window ready to go if you need a backup plan. So check the wire. I don't know if you have a guy who you have on your bench who could go in if Mitchell is out. I would say maybe keep an eye on the waiver wire. Is there anybody in the late window in the event that Mitchell can't go that you could plug in? But Javonte for sure. I'm not, Westbrook goes, because I would hate if you played Westbrook and then Mitchell is active. I would hate that. So these late window injuries, I'm always looking for, is there a guy that I can grab who plays in the same time slot to make the decision a little easier? That's what I would do. But Javonte for sure. And you should get CeeDee Lamb back for week 13. So that helps a little bit, but not this week. R. Gordon, what's going on? Elijah Mitchell or Javonte Williams? I think that's a relatively easy call this week. I'm going Javonte. There's concerns about Mitchell and his finger injury. He may not get the lion's share of touches with Jeff Wilson back. I'm going Javonte Williams. All of the advanced metrics, man. Javonte is like an analytics darling. He's great he's great at getting yards after contact. He makes big plays happen. I'm a big proponent of Javonte Williams. He's going to get his opportunities tomorrow. He can catch the ball. Yeah, he's explosive. They had a stat during the Cowboys-Raiders game. Fox put up a stat. Or was that game on CBS? It was on CBS. CBS put up a stat that Javonte leads all running backs this year as far as non-starters in accumulated rushing yards. Javonte's a beast. Let's give me Javonte Williams over over Elijah Mitchell, who may not play. And that I think that decision becomes even a little bit easier because they both play at the same time. If Mitchell is ruled out, then it's a no-brainer. Even if he's not, I play Javonte Williams over Elijah Mitchell. Chauncey there. Okay. We're diving a little deeper into the weeds. Let's do it. Galladay played with Slay in Detroit. That's true. Chris Harris is going to switch from safety to DB with the absence of this. Oh yeah, right, yeah. So okay, so maybe does Galladay maybe know Slay a little bit more as far as what he likes to do, how he likes to play, because they went up against each other in practice every day? Yeah, sure, that's a good point. That's something that should absolutely be taken into account. But Galladay has been dealing with injuries at this point. So is he slowed down a little bit by that? Is he also slowed down by the fact that Galladay is dealing with a significant quarterback downgrade from Matthew Stafford to Daniel Jones this year? And Slay is having one of the best seasons of his career. It's got to be fair to say. When you're having an all-pro season, you're probably having one of the best seasons of your career. So, yeah. And Chris Harris is going to have to play. Yeah, Chris Harris has been an outstanding slot corner throughout his career. Might have to play a little bit more on the outside tomorrow. That's an advantage for a guy like Judy and Cortland Sutton. All right, Deacon, Gesicki or Ingram this week at tight end? Yeah, I like Ingram this week as a stream, but I'm going to say Gesicki. Gesicki's he's safer. He's been much more rock solid. He runs way more wide receiver routes. Again, I think Ingram is in for, no Kadarius Toney, no Sterling Shepard. I think Ingram's going to run plenty of wide receiver routes in his own right tomorrow. I don't think I can pivot off of Gesicki for him, though. It's close. It's definitely close. And Ingram's definitely got some more upside. Because this is tough. Ingram's got the best matchup. The Eagles give up the most points to tight ends. The Eagles give up the most points in the NFL for fantasy purpose to tight ends. And with the Giants down multiple wide receivers tomorrow, Ingram's definitely this is a smash spot for Evan Ingram. He's just been the significantly less reliable player between him and Mike Gesicki. So this is tough. I guess I'll answer your question with a question. Would you rather play the rock solid, steady guy in not as good of a matchup, or would you rather play the dude who is as inconsistent as they come in the best possible matchup you could ask for? That's kind of what it boils down to. Gesicki has been rock solid, but it's like a bottom 10 matchup by the numbers against the Panthers. Ingram his floor is 0. And we've seen him be drop-eponymous throughout his career. But again, if there were ever a smash week for Evan Ingram, it's this week against those Eagles linebackers. They are not good. And I got a little extra insight for you guys. Being an Eagles fan, I know that the Eagles are only carrying 4 linebackers tomorrow in this game. They're opting to keep like 5 safeties instead of 4 linebackers. So they're like razor thin at linebacker. And then on top of that, they're almost like razor thin by choice. They could elevate another linebacker and they chose not to. So I'm going to give Deacon the slightest of edge to Gesicki, but Ingram is the all upside play. If you need a swing for the fences, you're looking at your team, you're looking at your opponent, you're thinking to yourself, I might lose by 20. I need a ceiling play, a high upside play. And if the floor, is 0 and I get 0, so be it, because I might lose anyway. If that's like the situation that you're looking at tomorrow, then maybe I say go Ingram, like swing for the fences. But if you think you can play it safe, is your playoff seed like safe? Is the rest of your matchup looking good? Check look at your situation, look at your opponent. If you feel like you can play it safe, Gesicki. If it's like I need an all upside play, I need to swing for the fences, I need a moonshot, whatever happens, Ingram. How about that? So, but at the end of the day, slight edge to Gesicki just because he's been a little bit more reliable. I know it's not a good matchup, but Gesicki has been, he's a tight end 1 on the year. Ingram is not. Alex Watts, what's going on? PPR, pick 3 between Higgins, Devonta Smith, Golladay, Shenault, and Claypool. I'm going to say Higgins, Devonta Smith, and Claypool. I just had a conversation about Golladay. He's going to see Darius Slay tomorrow. I'm avoiding that. I'm avoiding that until further notice. Until I see Darius Slay have a bad game this year, I'm avoiding an opponent's wide receiver 1 who has to go up against Darius Slay. He's been shutting wide receiver 1s down all year. And with Laviska Shenault, here's the thing with Shenault. If he's going to do anything this year, his time is finally now. There's no DJ Chark. There's no Jamal Agnew. He's finally possibly going to play the role that we expected him to play coming into the season. But he's still just a wide receiver 4 until further notice, despite the good matchup. Give me Higgins in a bounce-back game. Nothing scary about the Steelers' corners by the numbers. I think they get Joe Hayden back. So obviously that gives them a boost. That helps their defense. And TJ Watt. So the Steelers' defense is going to be, they get some pieces back that they were missing last week. That definitely helps their defense. But I like Higgins in a bounce-back spot. I know he's been the floor play this year, but there's got to be some touchdown regression coming soon. Positive touchdown regression coming soon. I think he's only got like 2 on the year. He is better than that. And then Devonta Smith has been rock solid this year. 2 of the past 3 weeks, he's got 20 fantasy points in half PPR leagues or better. And then even last week against the Saints, when he wasn't really needed because the Eagles got a big lead early. I see he still came through with like 4 or 5 catches for 60 yards. So give me Devonta Smith, and Claypool showed some signs of life last week. I think it was 5 for 93, something like that. Still getting utilized on end arounds in the red zone or near the goal line. Give me Higgins, give me Devonta Smith, give me Claypool. Matangs, I hope I'm saying that correctly. What's going on? Should you start A.J. Dillon? What are your other options? I'm still inclined to say yes, but what are your other options? Because with Dillon, I have no problem playing the Packers' backup running back at home. In Lambeau, the Packers are a different beast. They just are. And it's going to be cold again tomorrow. I don't think there's snow in the forecast, but it's going to be cold. And the Packers have been running the ball well, and Aaron Jones looks like he might play. But can we trust that he's going to get his normal 15-touch workload with the Packers going on bye next week? I think Dillon is still fine as a play. I think he's still just fine tomorrow to fire up. But Matangs, I'm sorry. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Who are your other options? That's my question. But I'm inclined to say yes. You can start A.J. Dillon tomorrow. And then Alex Watts, to that point, that makes this kind of difficult. And Tony, appreciate the support. And yeah, B3 Solo, you're welcome. But Alex, start Dillon or Jones. This is tough. If Jones is active, I think I'm gonna get burned for this. I think you have to play Aaron Jones. I'm a little worried about his workload. Going into the bye week, but he practiced all this week. That's a great sign. That's a really great sign for his availability. Availability, not necessarily full workload. I think they both. Jones being active obviously builds some downside in for both of them, but Jones is the bigger play. He's got bigger play potential. Jones, if he's active. I like Dillon tomorrow, though, still. I like both of them. I thought the Packers would hold Jones out this week and let him get fully healthy through the bye week. Their playoff seed is not a concern. This is a big game for them tomorrow, playing against the Rams. I thought they might hold Jones out through the bye week. If he plays, I don't think I can sit him. I don't think I can sit Aaron Jones. He's too good. He's way too good. Let's see. What do we got here? Sorry, everybody. I lost my spot for a second. Molly G. Kirk Cousins or Russell Wilson? the matchup is great by the numbers for Wilson, but man, the Seattle Seahawks are not inspiring a ton of confidence right now, are they? Wilson, but I don't feel great about it. The only reason I'm not saying Kirk is the matchup. Matchup is just, I can't ignore the fact that Washington still gives up tons of points to the quarterback position. Is that game in Washington? It's Monday night, so obviously, like, the time difference doesn't really factor in tomorrow, or sorry, on Monday. It's in Washington. I don't feel great about this, but Wilson's got a little bit more like magical upside opportunity than Kirk Cousins. It's not a good matchup by the numbers for Kirk. Give me Wilson. Washington's given up the most points to quarterbacks. I don't feel great about starting Russ, but if Russ can't do, let's put it this way, Molly, if Russ can't do it against Washington, then you have no need to start him for the rest of the year. Like, if Wilson can't get it done against Washington, then I don't know who he can get it done against. Wilson. Caden, what's going on? Traded Aaron Jones for Swift, 10-1 and already the official 1 seed. First of all, congratulations. Was that a good trade, PPR? Yeah, I mean, we got some good news for Deandre Swift yesterday. It sounded like he avoided some serious injury after a huge scare in the Thanksgiving game. He's day-to-day. You might honestly, with this information, Kate, you might honestly be hoping that Swift misses a game or two just as a precaution. Like, let's have him be healthy for the fantasy playoffs, right? Good trade. I think they're both RB1s. Swift has been the better RB1 this year. His pass catching volume has been insane and awesome. We need this injury designation that he's day-to-day to be true. Right? The fact that he avoided serious injury is awesome. Supposedly. Once I see him out there for week 13, I'll officially feel really good about it. But yeah, I mean, good trade. That's a swing for the fences that I would definitely take. Swift's pass catching volume has been great this year. Full PPR. That makes him as valuable as they come. Okay. Rest of season for Alex. Oh, man. Trevor Lawrence or Teddy Bridgewater? I guess Lawrence. Bridgewater feels like he's in danger of losing his job. Bridgewater's one bad game away from potentially losing his job. I guess Lawrence, although he's losing weapons, they're dropping like flies. No Jamal Agnew, no DJ Chark. I mean, he's still got Marvin Jones. He's still got Laviska Shenault for whatever that's worth. And James Robinson is a very strong pass catcher in his own right. And he's got Dan Arnold, who outside of last week has been a pretty good tight end this year. Teddy Bridgewater has the better weapons, but he feels like he's in greater danger of losing his job. Trevor Lawrence is not in danger of losing his job. So based off of that alone, I'll say Trevor Lawrence, Alex. They're both like QB2s, lower end, but Lawrence has full job security. Teddy B has none. JP, what's going on? Full PPR. Debo for Adams rest of season. Yeah, I mean, that's wild. That might be a bit of a push. And Debo's basically being deployed as a running back these days. He's a Swiss Army knife, kind of like Cordell Patterson these days, but like better. Yeah, I mean, I think it's you're a wide receiver 1 for a wide receiver 1. If so, to that point, if you prefer the rest of his schedule, Debo's to Adams, then sure. I don't love the idea of trading Devonta Adams away just because he's such an anchor. He's such a stud. But it feels kind of lateral, but not in a bad way. So if you like Debo's schedule rest of season, then sure. Debo's been phenomenal this year. Yeah, you're talking about a high-end wide receiver 1 in exchange for a high-end wide receiver 1. Adams is probably I don't want to say probably. Adams feels a little bit safer. But maybe that's just because of pedigree, right? But Debo's been incredible this year. He's having a phenomenal year. I'm okay. I mean, I'm okay with it. If you want Debo because you're looking at, you're going to the playoffs, you feel good about his schedule, and it's only, but you can't do it without giving up Adams. Sure. If you have Aaron Rodgers, maybe don't break that stack up. But outside of that, if you want to do it, then I say go for it. It's a wide receiver one for a wide receiver one. They're both awesome. I love Debo. I was not as in on him this year as I should have been. That was a miss. Ryan Nolly, what's going on? Miles Sanders a safe start tomorrow? Yeah, for the simple fact that if he doesn't do it tomorrow, it has to happen. There's no Jordan Howard. The Eagles have found their identity on offense. They've been running the ball spectacularly. Like, the New Orleans Saints were the number one rush defense coming into the game last week, and the Eagles shredded them for over 200 rushing yards. If Miles Sanders can't do it as the clear lead back with no Jordan Howard, if he can't do it tomorrow, then I'm all the way out on Miles Sanders. But yeah, he's a safe start tomorrow just because he should get more volume, he should get more work. The Eagles offense is now catering to the run game. Boston Scott will mix in. I assume Kenny Gainwell will be active, but he was a healthy scratch last week, so I'm not sure how much work he necessarily gets. It looks like it might be the Miles and Boston Scott show. So Miles is safe. He's safe. And the Eagles are playing well on offense right now. They're running the ball. They're running the ball better than, as a team, like excluding Jonathan Taylor, the Eagles are running the ball better than pretty much anybody. So yeah, he's safe. The work will be there. Will the results be there? That remains to be seen, but the work should be there. Miles Sanders should have a 15-touch floor tomorrow. So yeah, fire him up. Logan Hampton, what's going on? Dontrell Hilliard, Devonta Freeman, or Alex Collins? I think Hilliard is a decent desperation play tomorrow. I think Devonta Freeman is a slightly better option. Slightly. Freeman still looks like he's getting most of the work in this backfield. Latavius Murray is back and no longer on the injury report. So I expect Murray to get a little bit more work tomorrow. But until further notice, until that actually happens, let's go Devonta Freeman. Not as scary of a matchup against the Browns. The Patriots, they worry me a little bit. If there were anybody on the Titans I would play, it would be Hilliard. But that's a desperation play. Freeman has been a somewhat reliable RB2 over the past month and a half. So let's go Freeman. She won. Yeah, man, you're welcome. Happy late Thanksgiving to everybody. Hope you all had a good Thanksgiving. To that point, John is traveling for Thanksgiving, so we're hoping to get him back for our regular 10 a.m. Eastern live stream tomorrow. We'll be doing more start sit help. We might not start right at 10 a.m. Might be a little delayed depending on his travel plans. But we expect to get John back tomorrow. But definitely stay tuned on that. We will be back tomorrow, taking you right up to kickoff for more start sit help. If any other questions pop up. But yeah, hope this helps. Austin, what's going on? Yep, happy holidays again. Happy holidays to everybody. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I love this time of year. It's a great time. Family, football, food. What more could you ask for? Pick two between Metcalf, DJ Moore, Elijah Moore, and Devontae Smith. Damn. It's got to be Metcalf, right? We got to play Metcalf. He had a bad game against Arizona, but that always happens. Let's get Metcalf in there in a bounce back game. I'm not crazy about Russell Wilson, but if Washington's given up the most points to quarterbacks, and I think they're top 2 or 3 to wide receivers, it's got to be Metcalf. And then, man, this is tough. I think because you have some really strong options here, I'm pivoting off of Elijah Moore until I see him. Elijah Moore has been spectacular. He's been spectacular. But let's see what he does with Zach Wilson in there. who apparently is the one that the Jets have the least amount of confidence in right now anyway. For me, it's between DJ Moore and Devonta Smith. I think I'm going to say Devonta Smith. He's been rock solid. He's been rock solid. 20 half PPR points scored 2 of the past 3 weeks. Last week he just wasn't needed. The Eagles got up to a big lead early against the Saints and then kind of just held on. Let's go Devonta Smith. I don't feel good sitting Elijah Moore, man. I really don't. He's come on in a big way recently, but Houston's been playing a little better. I know nobody's scared about the Houston Texans as far as the defense, but they have been playing a little better recently. And Zach Wilson is kind of a wait and see right now if we're to believe the head coach saying that there's confidence issues with him. So, like, is Zach Wilson seeing ghosts? And if he is, how much is that going to affect Elijah Moore? Let's go with Devonta Smith. I know DJ Moore scored a touchdown last week, but even after scoring the touchdown, he didn't really do that much afterwards. Give me Metcalf. Give me Devonta Smith. All right, Logan, with Mahomes on bye, who do you start between Tyrod and Taylor Heineke? Yeah, this is tough. I have a hard time believing in Tyrod. I think I'm going to go Heineke. Just because he's got. I know, I like Brandon Cooks, but Terry McLaurin right now is a much better option than Brandon Cooks. And believe it or not, the Seahawks are giving up slightly more. It's razor thin. They're giving us slightly more points to quarterbacks than the Jets are. I'm going to say Heineke over Tyrod. Logan Thomas comes back for whatever that's worth. That might help the passing game a little bit. Heineke's just a gamer. I know Tyrod had two rushing touchdowns last week, but I feel like we might be chasing points a little bit there. I don't know if I necessarily believe that'll happen again. Let's go Heineke. Deacon, yeah, you're welcome, man. Always try to give as much insight as I possibly can, and then from there, hopefully you can make a final decision. I'll stick with what I said. Gesicki is the safer play if you think you can play it safe. Ingram is a swing for the fences and as good a matchup as we'll see all year. Well, until the Giants play the Eagles again, which I think might be it's week 16 or week 7. That's the playoffs, I think, fantasy playoffs. So might be firing Ingram up one more time in the biggest one of the biggest matchups of the year. Oof. But yeah, hopefully that helps. Artjum, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Thanks for joining. PPR, which 2 would I pick between Foreman, Landry, Bateman, Ayuk? The last 2. Foreman's got a brutal matchup tomorrow. I know he's the dude. He's the guy now. Adrian Peterson's cut, but I don't want to play him against the Patriots run defense. If I'm wrong on that, so be it. I'm not feeling that matchup at all. And Landry, he just hasn't gotten it done this year. He's not that rock solid wide receiver 3 that you can rely on. I know he scored last week on that weird trick play. But Bateman gets Lamar back, and Bateman was rock solid, super steady prior to Lamar missing last week. I think Hollywood sees Denzel Ward. I think there's work available for Bateman, like underneath, intermediate, and he can make a big play in his own right, which the Cleveland Browns are susceptible to. So give me Bateman and give me Ayuk. Ayuk has sprung back to life. Nothing scary about the matchup against the Vikings. Ayuk has played well recently. All right, let's see. Durko, what's going on? You are, but yeah. Another question. Starting running backs are J-Rob and Saquon, flexing Sanders. Okay. Oh, this is the 5. Okay. Would I flex Ayuk over Sanders? And would I play Sanders over the other 2 running backs? No, I would not play Sanders over James Robinson or Saquon, despite Saquon's injury designation. A banged up Saquon, I would go with over a healthy Miles Sanders. With the 40-yard big play, would I flex Ayuk over Sanders? Probably not. Sorry, Durko. It's half PPR, right? Yeah, probably not. I don't think I would go. I don't think I would go Ayuk over Sanders. I think I would play Sanders. I I think I would play Sanders. Ayuk can make a big play, but Sanders has some game-breaking speed in his own right. If you remember, he made some big plays. They haven't been there this year, but they were there last year. He's certainly capable. Sanders is absolutely capable of a big 40-yard play. He had a big run last year against the Steelers. He had a big run last year against the Saints. He had a couple other big runs. I'm blanking on some of the other teams, but or the opponents where he did it. But I would play those three running backs. Derko. I like Ayuk this week, but this is put up or shut up for Miles Sanders this week. It's got to happen. One game removed from the injury. Eagles have been running the ball exceptionally well. Like, it's your time or never, Miles Sanders. So I'm playing him this week as a result. Lucius, you're welcome. Would I start Cam or Rodgers tomorrow? Oh, the only options are Everett or Watkins. Okay. Yeah. So was this you're the one, you have David Johnson, right? Maybe just play David Johnson. Let's try to get a feel on Elijah Mitchell if there's any news whatsoever before the kickoffs tomorrow. But maybe let's tentatively pencil David Johnson in if you're that worried about Elijah Mitchell, which is, it's fair to be concerned about him. Between Cam and Rodgers, I guess Rodgers is the one dealing with the injury. He's got the toe injury, and it's a big game against the Rams. Cam's got the rushing upside. I love the rushing upside. I advised starting Cam last week over Rodgers. I think it's pretty close. I think they're pretty close. If you prefer to play a running quarterback, some people do. Some people prefer guys with more rushing upside. Not that Rodgers can't run. Well, Rodgers might run less with the toe injury. If you prefer the rushing quarterback, that little extra, that extra boost, I don't have a problem playing Cam, a healthy Cam. The Dolphins give up lots of points to quarterbacks. For what that's worth. The Rams, less so. You know what? I'm going to plant my flag on this. I'm going to say Cam. Lucius, I'm going to say Cam over Rodgers. Cam is the healthy one in a much better matchup. Oh, Pete Diddy, appreciate that. Appreciate the super, man. Thank you so much. Let's see what we got here. And thanks for tuning in. Dynasty 2 QB, traded Pitts, a 2022 third and a 2022 third for Hawkinson, a 2022 second, a 2023 first. Buddy said didn't get enough. I think you did great. I think you did awesome. I think you did just fine. Look, I love Pitts. I love his upside. I love him moving forward. But Hawkinson is like, Pitts is 21. Hawkinson's only 23. It's not like Hawkinson's 28. Hawkinson's 23 years old. Both of them are going to be good for the next decade plus if we're fortunate enough. Yes, if you want to, in Dynasty, if you want to rank Pitts as the tight end 1, sure, but Hawkinson's not ranked lower than tight end 2 or 3 for Dynasty purposes. Maybe like 4 or 5 if you want to factor in Kelsey should still be good for 2 or 3 years. But for Dynasty purposes, I'd rather have Hawkinson than Mark Andrews. I'd rather have, like, Gronk has had a great year. I'd obviously rather have Hawkinson than Gronk for Dynasty purposes. Mike Gesicki, I've been talking about Mike Gesicki a lot this pod. I'd much rather have Hawkinson long term than Gesicki. Kittle and Waller are obviously still in that conversation, but they're older too. They're the ones who are 28, 29 years old. Hawkinson's only 23. You gave up a third, and then you got a second, and you got a first in 2023, which if you ask John and most draft pundits, P. Diddy, a lot of people like that 2023 class. A lot more than they like the 2022 one. I think you did good. I think you did just fine. Your buddies saying you didn't get enough are the ones who wish that you traded Pitts to them. They're just salty because they don't have Pitts. And you still got a 23-year-old top 5 tight end. I know it's been a little bit of pulling teeth for Hawkinson over the past couple of weeks, but Detroit's not going to have Jared Goff as their quarterback forever. Like, somehow, some way, somehow, they will upgrade. They will upgrade from Jared Goff. The Lions' offensive line is already pretty good and trending up. Penny was a good pick. Taylor Decker, we'll see. But the Detroit Lions offensive line, he's been kind of blah. But the Detroit Lions offensive line as a whole is looking strong. I think the foundation for their offense is there. They just need a quarterback. Well, they need a wide receiver or two as well. But the foundation is there. The offensive line is there. Hawkinson is a 23-year-old pass-catching stud. I love Pitts long-term. I do. You know, if you want to call him the dynasty tight end 1 because he's got 10, 12 years and Kelsey's only got 3 or 4, fine. Hawkinson's right there. Top 5 conversation. As far as dynasty tight end rankings. And any wide receiver that they get helps Hawkinson. It'll alleviate some of the pressure. It'll draw coverage away from him. Which maybe you could say the same thing about Pitts when Calvin Ridley returns, but that might not happen until 2022. And on top of that, you get a 2nd-round pick and a 1st in 2023. You did good, dude. You did just fine. Your boys in your league that are saying you didn't get enough are the ones that wish that you traded them Pitts. That's what they're really saying. So nicely done. Appreciate the super. That's super, super generous of you. Hope this helps. I feel like you did just fine. I don't want to trade Pitts, but if that's the package I get for him, deal. Nicely done. And once again, yeah, thank you for the super. Once again, appreciate that. All right, let's go back to this. Yeah, okay. So Lucius, start Cam over Rodgers. I feel just fine saying that. And if you're worried about Elijah Mitchell, which is fair, maybe just fire up David Johnson, who you know is healthy in a great matchup, as good a matchup as it gets for running backs because the Jets can't stop anybody in the backfield. Alex, should you drop Alex Collins? You have Dylan, Jones, Chubb, Latavius Murray, Miles Sanders. Need a backup QB on my roster. Why do you need a backup QB on your roster? Is it a 1-quarterback league? If it's a super flex league, then okay. But why do you need Alex Collins is not necessarily a must hold, but he's got the inside track to be a starting running back rest of season. That has value. A bad starting running back is still a starting running back. So my question is why do you need a backup QB? What's your situation? Let me know. Hell yeah, Tanner, go Birds. We're trending up a little bit. We're trending up a little bit. We're right at the edge of the playoff race. We're coming. We're sneaking in there a little bit. The Eagles' schedule is not that scary. The NFC least, man. The NFC least. Not too scary. Giants, Washington. Watch out, guys. Caden, start 2. Kupp, Evans, Chase, and Williams. Damn. Well, Kupp you have to play. And I think Chase you have to play. Well, you have to play Evans too. Damn. Kupp for sure. Evans, it's either Evans or Chase. I think I slightly lean Chase, I guess. Because Evans is coming in with a bit of an injury designation. He's a big play waiting to happen, though, but so is Chase. Ugh. Chase might see Joe Hayden tomorrow. So that's obviously a little bit of downside. There's nobody in Indianapolis' secondary that I'm worried about as it pertains to Mike Evans. It's a coin flip. Kupp for sure. There's Kupp's in your lineup no matter what. It's between Evans or Chase. I guess a slight edge to Chase just because he's not the one carrying an injury designation, but Evans is awesome. Like, Evans doesn't need to practice to pop off in a game, and his matchup is really good. Let me just double check this just to make sure, because the Steelers are not that scary against wide receivers themselves. The Colts are giving up more production. The matchup favors Evans slightly. The matchup favors Evans slightly. The Steelers are not scary against wide receivers themselves. Evans, if you like the matchup, like if you prefer the favorable matchup. Chase, if you prefer the healthy player. Add a flex spot in that league. You got really good wide receivers, man. I wish you could play all of them, or at least those first three. Eric, what's going on? What do I think for Lockett or Fournette in the flex this week? Let's go Fournette. Feels a little bit more reliable. He's been like a super safe PPR player, right? And with no Antonio Brown, I know Gronk is back, but Fournette is the starting running back for one of the best offenses in the league. And he's been he catches a ton of balls out of the backfield. Even if it's standard, especially so Fournette. Yeah, I think you go Fournette regardless, Eric, regardless of your score. Oh, you say, full PPR. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Lockett might catch 8 balls, but Fournette might catch 6 with another 15 carries mixed in. I'm going to say Fournette. He's very clearly the Bucks RB1. I'll say Fournette. Yeah, rather confidently. I know Lockett's got a great matchup, but there's nothing scary about the Colts defense. Give me Tom Brady's starting running back. And then Caden, how would I rank these? Swift, McCaffrey, Eckler? Oh, hell yeah. Well, a healthy McCaffrey has to be number 1. They're pretty close. You're talking about like 1A, 1B, 1C. McCaffrey, Eckler, Swift. And the only reason I don't have Swift higher is because he picked up an injury. A healthy McCaffrey is 1. Eckler is right there. He's top 3 rest of season. And Swift is top 5 rest of season. McCaffrey, Eckler, Swift. The only reason Swift I maybe don't put over Eckler is because Swift picked up an injury. But he's day-to-day, supposedly, so we dodged a bullet there. They're all easy top, like they're bona fide top 7 options each and every week, minimum. Brian, what's going on at Flex? Full PPR, T. Higgins, Jacoby, or Dontrell Hilliard? I'm going Higgins among those guys. It's just a tier break for me. It's a tier break as far as the talent level. I think I like Higgins in a bounce back. I like Higgins. I like Higgins in a bounce back this week. Nothing scary about the matchup. The Steelers give up decent production, better than decent production to wide receivers. I like Higgins in a bounce back spot this week, especially if Hayden sees Chase. I feel good about Higgins. I like Jacoby Myers and I like Dontrell Hilliard, but I think Dontrell Hilliard is a little bit more of a desperation play. Higgins means you're not desperate. I would play Higgins. I know he flunked last week. He was not good. He had like 3 PPR points, not good. But bounce back. I like Higgins for a bounce back. He's got to score a touchdown one of these weeks. Jeez. Thea, what's going on, man? Yeah, we will be in touch. Maybe give you like 15 minutes after the stream. My dog is begging me to take him out. But yeah, we'll be in touch. And Brian, you're welcome. Austin, got another question. DJ Moore. Oh yeah. Okay. I got that one already. I think I got that one earlier. Metcalf and Devonta Smith. And Arjum, you're welcome. Start Heineke or Jimmy G. I think I would still say Heineke. It's close, but Heineke's got a little bit more rushing upside. Heineke's got more rushing upside than Jimmy G. Jimmy G's been slinging it a little bit. His job is safe for at least another game or two. But let's go Heineke. He's just got more rushing upside. There you go. Durko, you're welcome, man. Yeah, appreciate the kind words. I'm hardly right. I don't even know what my hit percentage is. If I'm hitting 50%, then great. But yeah, I mean, all I could do is just try to give you guys like insight as far as just intangibles that maybe not every other fantasy analyst is considering. I like to look at as many different avenues as I possibly can to come to a decision. So all I can say is I hope I'm helping. I hope I'm helping somebody. That's all I can ask for. But yeah, let's win our weeks. Let's win our weeks tomorrow. What do you say? P. Diddy, you're welcome, man. Yeah, thank you. Thank you again for the super. Appreciate that. But yeah, love the trade. And Austin, you're welcome. Eric, also in 1 QB, who I think for Stafford, Wilson, or Cam Newton. I'm going Cam. The rushing upside, man. Stafford, I know that the Rams have their bye week, or just had their bye week, so maybe they figure some things out. But they were bad, man. They were bad the past 2 weeks. The Rams were. Let's see them coming out of the bye week before we fire Stafford up again if I have an option for Cam. And to that point, Wilson's got the best matchup of the 3, but Wilson's been the worst of the 3. And the Seahawks are just like in the tank right now, man. Their season's done. That's an intangible where I'm like, if the matchup is as good as it gets for Russell Wilson, but give me Cam. The Miami Dolphins are not a scary matchup. For as many points as Washington gives up to quarterbacks, Miami's right there. And Cam is I feel like Cam's the healthier one. Wilson's a couple weeks removed from the finger injury now, so he's healthy in his own right. But I feel like Cam's a greater threat as a runner. Wilson runs, but I feel like Cam's a better threat as a runner, and he's a goal line vulture. Playing with great weapons. Wilson's got good weapons too. Great weapons as well. But let's go Cam. I feel a little safer with him. I do. Feel a little bit safer with Cam than I do Russell Wilson. And you're welcome. Appreciate the kind words. All right, Alex. Okay, let's see. Rodgers as your QB. Okay, so you need a quarterback next week. Everyone. Okay. Collins is expendable. Okay, so to that point, yeah, if you need, fine. So yeah, Collins is expendable in that situation. I wouldn't necessarily. Yeah, okay. You can make the move this week. You're not going to be starting Collins. If you're definitely not starting Collins, you can avoid waivers next week. Who's available? Take a look at some of the matchups. Maybe you don't even need my help for this. Maybe there's a guy that you have your eye on who you just want to grab. But if there's a couple guys you're between, just check the matchup, see who's got a good matchup, and yeah, that's fine. Do that. And then Collins might be a guy that you can just scoop right back up after Rodgers' bye week anyway. So yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Makes sense, Alex. Makes sense. Caden, would I trade Lamar, Kupp, and Swift for Brady, Adams, and Barkley? No. And the linchpin for me in that trade is Saquon. Lamar's a QB1. Brady's a QB1. Kupp is like the wide receiver 1. Adams is a wide receiver 1. Swift is a running back 1. Barkley is maybe a running back 1. More like a running back 2. Barkley's the reason I say no. Love Brady this year. He's been phenomenal. He's going to continue to be rock solid all year. But so is Lamar. Kupp is the wide receiver 1, so I'm not really trying to trade him. And with Robert Woods out of the picture, he's going to continue to be funneled targets. And Swift avoided serious injury. Barkley's the reason I say no. Okay, I say no. I love Brady. I love Adams. I want to like Barkley, but he's going to be on the injury report for the rest of the season. That's a pretty much guarantee. He all but guaranteed it himself. He said he's going to be dealing with this ankle injury all season. This is seems to be indicating this is not going to get better. It might not get worse, but it's not going to get better. This is from Saquon's mouth. These are his words. He says he's going to be dealing with this all season, for the rest of the season. No, I say no. And then Sheldon, we're coming up to the end of the chat here, and I've been going for almost 2 hours, so I will be wrapping this up shortly, especially because I expect John back tomorrow. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we can start things off right at the top of the hour, 10 a.m. tomorrow. It might be a little bit of a delay, depending on John's travel schedule. But we'll be sure to we'll be sure to go live at some point tomorrow, leading up to kickoff. But Sheldon, let's wrap this up a little bit here. Jeff Wilson, Jamison Crowder, full PPR. I'm gonna go Crowder, unless if we get some new information about Elijah Mitchell being out, well, what's Jeff Wilson's status? He's not on the injury report. He was pretty uninspiring last week, but he should have had a touchdown. He should have caught a touchdown. Jimmy G just missed him on the throw. Jeff Wilson would have delivered big time. I'll say Sheldon. Let me change my tune a little bit. I almost said Crowder. If we get any negative news about Elijah Mitchell before kickoff tomorrow, like any update, like the 49ers are pessimistic about Elijah Mitchell, they're worried about, maybe we can't play him, Wilson. Crowder plays early, so obviously that throws a little bit of a wrench into this. Let's tentatively say Wilson. If we get positive news before kickoff, Sheldon, about Elijah Mitchell, like, Elijah Mitchell's feeling much better, miraculous recovery with his finger. It's, he's good to go. 49ers expect him to carry a full workload or be the lead back, then Crowder. Anything else, I'll say Wilson. It's a good matchup for Crowder. It's the best. It's a good matchup for Crowder, but I can't deny a guy who I feel like might be a starting running back. So let's go with that. I appreciate that. You're welcome. Let's see if we get any positive news, or let's see whatever news we get from Elijah Mitchell and go from there. If we get nothing, I'll say slight edge to Wilson, because I think nothing could still be a smokescreen for Mitchell's not that healthy. The 49ers are scaling back his touches. Caden, last question. Andrews or Gronk rest of season? That's tough. Gronk is a touchdown machine, but that might come down a little bit if Antonio Brown returns. If that's a huge if. Man, he's been out for like 5-6 games now. It's like, come on, AB. But if he can get over the ankle injury, that obviously might cap Gronk a little bit. It's really close. That's really, really close. They're both really strong options. They're both tight end ones. They're both like mid-level tight end ones. Slight edge to Andrews. A little bit less of an injury risk, but it's close. They're both really good options. Slight edge to Andrews. Lamar looks for him. He's that safety valve in the middle of the field. The Ravens have been throwing the ball more than they have ever since Lamar was inserted as the starter. That bodes well for Andrews. The Ravens have actually, I almost forgot about that little tidbit. The Ravens are throwing the ball more than they have for the past 3-4 years, however long Lamar has been the starter. Slight edge to Andrews, but they're both good options. I appreciate that, man. I don't know if I'm the best, but all I'm trying to do is help you guys out. That's all I want to do. Give whatever expert advice I can provide. But thank you guys for tuning in. Really, really appreciate that. Everybody who's stuck around to this point. Arch, how feel about starting Waddle and Claypool tomorrow? Sure. What are your alternatives? If there's like a big enough tier break, Waddle might see Stephon Gilmore tomorrow, so there's a little bit of concern about that. But they'll give him the ball on end arounds. They'll put him in the backfield. They'll get him at the line of scrimmage. Like Waddle can get a bunch of, if it's full PPR, Waddle's fine to fire up. Standard, I'm a little less enthusiastic. They might try to find a way to manufacture touches for him, but it's a tough matchup. But he's talented enough to beat it. And Claypool, I'm feeling a little bit better about. Not a great matchup by the numbers. But came to life a little bit last week. What was it, like 5 for 93? I feel like that's what I want to say. Like I keep saying for him. Was that what he had last week, Claypool? And he should have scored. Ben just like threw a duck on the throw. 5 for 93 on 9 targets, and he still gets like end around on the goal line. So I feel fine about Claypool. Waddle, if he has to face Gilmore, I don't feel as good about that. But unless there's like a significant tier break, you're going to start him, Archam. And yeah, appreciate that. Have a good one. Hopefully that helps. Sheldon, you're welcome. Again, let's just keep an eye on the news. If there's anything for Elijah Mitchell, let's just keep an eye on that. Sure. Also, one more, Herbert or Newton. I'm kind of a proponent of Cam tomorrow. Again, like the Dolphins give up a lot of production to quarterbacks. They give a lot of production to quarterbacks, and Cam runs. Cam remains like one of the biggest, outside of Lamar and Jalen Hurts, the biggest threat for as a rushing quarterback. Herbert's been fantastic this year. He's been fantastic, and it's really hard for me to go away from him. On the road in a division game, I don't think it's unfair to expect a little bit of downside. Herbert's been a little up and down this year. He's been like last week, he was phenomenal. He dominated the Steelers. But remember, the Steelers were without Joe Hayden and TJ Watt. Those are 2 significant losses on Pittsburgh. Does Herbert go into Denver, a division opponent, the same Broncos who are activating Bradley Chubb tomorrow, so they get a little bit of a boost? What are the Broncos giving up to quarterbacks this year? Let me check that. I know the Dolphins are giving up a lot, more than the Broncos, by a significant amount. I'm going to shoot my shot, Austin. I'm going to say Cam. I'm going to say Cam over Herbert. Herbert's safe, but there's more downside. There's more downside on the road division game against Denver. Give me Cam against Miami, who is giving up lots of production to quarterbacks. Give me Cam. Kate, would I start Gronk in the flex over Evans? No. Yes. Could Gronk get 2 red zone touchdowns? Sure. But Mike Evans is a wide receiver 1. I can't. I'm starting Mike Evans. I know Brady and Gronk are like this, right? They got a brilliant rapport. They got a great rapport. They got great chemistry. But Mike Evans is a big play on any given play waiting to happen. Nothing scary about the Colts secondary. They haven't stopped anybody this year. I can't. Nah, I gotta play Mike Evans. Between Mike Evans and Gronk, I'm playing Mike Evans. All right, couple more questions. And then I am going to wrap this up because we will be live again tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, maybe 10:30 Eastern. We got to check. I'll have to check with John's travel status because he will be traveling tomorrow from some cold weather city. It's either Buffalo or Milwaukee. I can't remember which one. I think it's Milwaukee. I think John's in Milwaukee. We got to check the Milwaukee weather report as far as are there any snow concerns tomorrow? Doesn't look like it. No precipitation. All right, John shouldn't have any travel plans tomorrow, hopefully. So we'll try to start at 10 a.m. We might be a little delayed. But we will for sure be available for you guys leading up to kickoff for any other start sit questions that might come up. But yeah, no, Caden, I'm starting Evans. Alex, Cortland Sutton or Judy rest of season? I guess a slight edge to Sutton, I guess. He's been kind of a floor play recently. That hasn't felt great. Maybe as long as Bridgewater's in there, maybe a slight edge to Judy, but Bridgewater might lose his job. If Drew Lock gets in there, then I feel better about Sutton. I feel like they're tied to the quarterback. It depends on who the quarterback is, Alex. If it's Bridgewater, maybe a slight edge to Judy. If Drew Lock gets in there because Bridgewater plays his way out of a starting job, which is absolutely possible, then maybe I say Sutton. It's going to be dependent on the quarterback. Purple Marcus, what's going on? Pick up from free agency. You like, yeah, if you want to pick up Cam, go for it. I guess it depends on your situation. Do you need a starting quarterback? Is it a 1-quarterback league? If you have anybody other than Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, or Tom Brady, then sure, pick up Cam. And he's got a great matchup tomorrow. If whoever your quarterback is now, if you're kind of like lukewarm on, Cam's got a beautiful matchup tomorrow against Miami. And Alex, yeah, you're welcome. Appreciate it. Oh man, you're in it. Well, first of all, thanks for tuning in all the way from England. And it's super late there, but yeah, 10 a.m. Eastern. So what is that, like 2 p.m. your time or military time? What is that, like 1600, something like that? Trying to be international here. But yeah, we will be available before kickoff tomorrow as well if you got any other questions. But yeah, appreciate that. Always happy to provide whatever level of expertise you want to give my analysis. But yeah, we will be at 6. Yeah, so 1600, maybe like the bottom of the hour, depending on, again, my co-host John will be traveling, but he intends to be available tomorrow. So we'll be sure to be live tomorrow at some point. Verbal Marcus, and then I'm wrapping this up. Already I have Cam. Who should I give reaction to boost up my? You have Cam on your roster. Who should I give? Who you're picking up from? Well, who's available? Who are you looking at? And would you be starting anybody who is available? I'm not in a rush to drop Cam. Unless I know for the rest of the season that I got Jalen Hurts, I got Lamar Jackson, I got Tom Brady. Outside of that, I'm not sure, not sure you necessarily need, if you have one of those three guys, then you probably don't need Cam. Anybody else, then unless there's an obvious guy, yeah, Tony, I agree. I'm not trying to necessarily get rid of Cam. Unless I have Lamar or Jalen Hurts. And even then, it's Cam's looking strong rest of the season. Who's available? Okay, here we go. Odell, Robbie, David Johnson. Nah. Are you plugging any of these guys into your lineup? Right? If you're not plugging any of these guys into your lineup, then nah. I just hold on to Cam. Just hang on to Cam. I think that's the move. I think that's the move. David Johnson has the Jets tomorrow, but what's the rest of his schedule? I'm not a big proponent of David Johnson just because Philip Lindsay and Mark Ingram are gone. David Johnson's he's a shell of himself. He was great. He's not anymore. Robbie A, not necessarily a hold, and neither's depending on your wide receivers. If you're good at wide receiver, if you're not starting any of these guys, then you don't necessarily need to make a move just to make a move. You know what I mean? Let's see how Odell does. Let's see how Odell does in the Rams offense coming out of the bye week, following multiple weeks in a row where he's done pretty much nothing. And yes, maybe you can blame some of that on Baker Mayfield and the Browns and the offense and all that. But Odell's also, he's dealing with the shoulder injury, which apparently is something that is just never going to go. It's the clavicle or whatever he hasn't had surgery on. It's been bothering him for years or something like that. I don't think any of these guys are must adds, depending on the size of the league and the size of your lineup. And if Cam is your starter, if you've got Cam penciled in, yeah, just keep him. I think you're good, man. I think you're just fine. But that's going to do it for me. I've been at this for over 2 hours, so appreciate it to all of you who are still in the chat. Thank you guys for sticking around this long. Thank you guys for your questions. This has been a lot of fun. Always love doing this. Always love hanging out with everybody and providing whatever insight I can to help whatever decisions that you guys might be between as far as your starting lineup. But that's going to do it for me tonight. Have a phenomenal rest of your Saturday night. And we will see you guys 10 a.m. tentatively tomorrow, Eastern time, 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. Take you right up to kickoff, maybe 10:30 Eastern, depending on John's availability. Okay, yeah. Okay, real quick. If you want to pick up Odell for Jarvis Landry, then sure. Or Robbie Anderson. If you want to Jarvis Landry is not a hold. Kenny Golladay is, now that he's healthy. But honestly, that's up to you. You're talking about you're between some wide receiver threes. Maybe Odell over Jarvis Landry might be my move. But that's it for me. Thank you guys again. Have a great rest of your Saturday night. And if I don't see y'all tomorrow, enjoy the games. If I do, hopefully we can help you out a little bit more as far as some start sit help. Thank you guys. Have a good night.